Let's have a discussion about something that nobody likes to talk about, and that is money. Because currently, the Green Bay Packers have $31.54 million left in cap space. So that begs the question, are there some big moves still to come? Is Brian Gutekunst sitting on that cash, looking out over the next couple of months? Is he about to cook something up? That's what we're talking about right here on today's show. Welcome to Packers Report. Thank you so much for joining me. Like I said, $31.54 million. That is good enough for 11th in the NFL in cap space, just outside the top 10. But it's very close to even the top 5. Only $7.9 million away from 5th in the National Football League in salary cap space left. This is a team that has only a few holes to fill. So over these next couple of months, will they use that $31.54 million to fill them? That's what we're discussing today. Thanks so much for joining us again. Before we get into it, I got to shout out these people on Twitter. I said I'd do it Monday, completely forgot about it, but thank you so much to Brody, Abrams, Betty, Renata, Johnny, Malupal, Chase, Kazui, and Tyson Scuball, all for following me right there on X, following me on Twitter. If you guys want to hit me up next, you can find me at Joey Peterson 8. The link to my Twitter will be in the comments and description of today's video. Tweet about the Packers every single day for more in-depth coverage, more, hourly coverage. You can hit me up right there. Go ahead and follow me at Joey Peterson 8. So 2024, the offseason was incredibly significant for Green Bay. In fact, when you look at last season, you could argue that the best players on either side of the ball were free agency additions. Starting with Josh Jacobs on the offensive side of the ball, 300 in carries. He was the guy that this offense ran through. And if he wasn't on your team, with Jordan Love dealing with the injuries that he was dealing with, this offense would have been a shell of itself. 15 touchdowns, 1,300 yards, was durable as hell, playing 17 games. And then you go over to the defensive side of the ball. And Xavier McKinney was the absolute man. There's no other way to put it. 88 tackles, 11 pass breakups, 8 interceptions, and a coverage grade of 90. Third best out of 170 safeties in the National Football League. So the moves they made last offseason, that's what put them into a little bit of a different tier on either side of the ball. And so far, the moves they've made this offseason, I don't think they've done that yet. I think Aaron Banks is a fine addition. I'm always going to say you overpaid for him because I think you did. I think Nate Hobbs is going to be great in that nickel corner role. Mecole Hardman might not make the roster now after drafting 2 wide receivers. Isaiah Simmons, the name value is still there. The fact that he was a top 10 pick a few years ago, that's still there, but he's been a massive disappointment over the last couple seasons. He's going to be used more as a defensive chess piece. I see none of these 4 players having near the same effect that Josh Jacobs did or Xavier McKinney did last year. And this is a good roster, right? You could still be excited about this roster. You could still roll into the 2025 season sitting on your hands over the next couple of months, not doing anything, and still feel good about your chance to compete not only in your division, but for a Super Bowl. But you still have money. And you got a lot of it. $31.54 million of it. So that begs the question, what could the moves for Green Bay be? Let's talk a bit about extensions first, right? Could there be more extensions on the way? Because so far in free agency, since the season ended, they've really only extended Brandon McManus and Isaiah McDuffie of the big name players. 3 years, $15.3 for McManus, 2 years, $8 million for McDuffie. And that's pretty much it. No other real big money to any big players shelled out by this franchise. There are 3 names, though, that I want to keep an eye on for possibly being extended over the next couple of months, using some of that money to keep these players and keep them on this franchise for longer. I think Quay Walker is going to be the number 1 suspect of this. We talked about it late last week. They did not pick up his 5th-year option. Okay, they did pick up Devontae Wyatt's 5th-year option. That doesn't mean that I don't think Quay Walker's worth it. In my opinion, that just means they're going to work out an extension very soon. Romeo Doubs, I threw on here, although I think after drafting 2 wide receivers and having both him and Christian Watson, their deals ending at the same time this next free agency in 2026, I don't know if they're going to extend him unless they see something from him in the summer that they feel really, really confident about. And then Zach Tom, the right tackle. He's been absolutely phenomenal. And I know you drafted tackle very early. I think Anthony Belton is a Rasheed Walker replacement next year, not a Zach Tom replacement. Would not be surprised at all if they want to, kind of latch him down and keep him in Green Bay for long term. Make the call for me. Get down to the comment section and let me know which Packer you think gets an extension next. I'm probably going with Quay Walker, but I want to hear your answer right now. So we talked extensions. Let's talk about trades, okay? Is there a big trade on the horizon? We talked about a lot of names yet, or so far in kind of the history of this channel. A name we've talked about a decent bit is Tyreek Hill, right? Because he's been linked to the Green Bay Packers. Not just once, but twice. By Bleacher Report, Sporting News, different articles like that. And you kind of look at it and say it would have been a fine fit before the draft, but now you draft 2 wide receivers, one of them being Matthew Golden, one of them being Savion Williams, both of them in the first 3 rounds, and I just don't necessarily see the need for wide receiver anymore. And also, just to put a whole bow on the Tyreek Hill situation, I kind of want to stay far away from him. I know he's 1 year removed from having a 1,700-yard season, but this dude just cannot get out of his own way. And he brings it on himself. And I'm not talking about any of the legal disputes. That's just, they're in a stratosphere of their own. That's a whole headache on its own. But just even small things like this, okay? He was asked on Snapchat, who are your top 5 quarterbacks in the National Football League? He then decided to answer that question. It wasn't live. He made the conscious decision and conscious effort to answer it. And then Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, and Patrick Mahomes. Tua Tagovailoa is not on that list. And I'm not saying that he should be on that list, but Tyreek Hill knows what that's going to cause. Ripple effect, waves, in a Miami Dolphins fan base, right? And so it's just small things like that. Tiny things. It's not that big of a deal, but it's like, why do you want that extra distraction on your football team? I'm saying no. I'm saying goodbye to the cheetah. And let's talk about Trey Hendrickson now, okay? Because we've talked about it before, and I think it still makes sense. I still think that Cincinnati is not necessarily in a place to pay him what he feels like he deserves. After paying guys like T. Higgins, paying guys like Jamar Chase, a very, very big lump sum of money. And I think that Trey could be that missing piece. You drafted Barron Sorrell in the 4th round. Super excited about him, right? Think he's going to be a really good player. I think you got really great value for him. But I still think there's something missing in terms of edge rusher on this defense, okay? Trey Hendrickson has had back-to-back 17-sack seasons. I think if you give Cincinnati what they've been looking for, not going to have to be a first-round pick, maybe a second-round pick, I think your roster might be set, if I'm being totally honest. Do you guys love the daily Packers coverage we're giving you right here on the Packers Report? If you do, go ahead, lock us in, and subscribe today. Let's make this thing Facebook official, okay? We cover the Packers every single day, and it is currently May 6th. We're headed into June, July, kind of the down months of the NFL offseason. Guess what? We're still going to be here every single day talking the green and gold with you, the cheeseheads. So make it official and hit that sub button. Let's talk about the second thing that we could be on the lookout with this $31.54 million is a free agent signing. I don't think really anybody expected them to sign Isaiah Simmons up until like a couple days before when he posted on Instagram the cheese trap emoji, and also Jordan Love followed him. That kind of gave you some clues. And depending on what happens with Jaire Alexander, and I know we've been saying that for a very long time, as of still right now, he's on this roster, but depending on what happens with him, you might need a cornerback. If he's not on this roster, if they trade him, if they release him, you will need a cornerback, in my opinion, and you've still got some pretty decent choices to choose from. Stephon Gilmore, he's an interesting option. He's a little bit older, but I don't hate it. What I really, really like is Asante Samuel Jr., okay? And I get it. He played only 4 games last year, and it's obvious that injury is probably a little more serious than everybody thought because nobody signed him yet. But if you go back to what he was able to do in 2023, in man coverage, he was absolutely phenomenal. Struggled a little bit more in zone coverage, but man, I mean, just was unbelievable in 2023. And sure, he's not the most physical cornerback, but like this is a really physical defense in and of itself. I could use one cornerback that's not the most physical, right? I think like you're going to be okay if you get a guy who's really good at covering guys and just isn't the best tackler. Like that's fine for me, okay? Also talking about cornerbacks not on that list, I also really like Kendall Fuller, and we've talked about him before. He's, to me, a guy kind of similar to Asante Samuel Jr. Their best seasons were in 2023. He played over 1,000 snaps, had a defensive grade of 83.1, tackling grade of 86, coverage grade of 82, only allowed 488 yards in 1,020 snaps for the Washington Commanders. Dealt with a little bit of injury last year with the Miami Dolphins. He's still available. I think that would be a phenomenal signing as well. Also, another guy that's still available, could cure your need at edge rusher if you don't trade for Trey Hendrickson, is Von Miller. Sure, he's getting a little bit older, but in my opinion, he's still a guy that like you'd be able to use on just third downs. He could come into this roster, still be a pass rush specialist, and you could still get a lot out of him, okay? I believe that he could still, give this pass rush a little bit of a jolt. Shout him out for me in the comment section. Name a free agent you want the Packers to sign down below. It can be anybody I just named. It can be totally somebody vastly different. You just let me know your opinion in the comment section. I said it earlier, we give you daily coverage on your favorite team all year long, okay? There's not a better place to be if you're a Green Bay Packers fan. So if you haven't yet, lock us in right now and subscribe.